The unlicensed party bus game is one I'm glad I got in on when I did. I really thought I was going to be okay with a regular job, too. The drudgery, what I now see as drudgery, appealed to me before. The mere exchange of several of your hours and a few basic arm motions. I worked in an office where you just flail a lot. The CEO... technically I think he was our captor. But he really liked flailing, and he said, there's not going to be an IPO, no board of directors, I just want you to flail. It pleases me. Oh, well, the glitz and glam went out of that pretty quickly. So, I gave my captor my 2 weeks notice. He's like, oh, you got another gig lined up? Son? And I said, no, Dad, I don't. And my father, he just handcuffed me to a single ice cube and said, well, good thing you don't have plans then, 'cause you're gonna be missing them. That was the closest he could come to laughter. He'd had a uvular injury several years earlier when a very thin sparrow got super lost and tried to live inside of him. And this also, I don't think it physically affected his brain, but he did, after that, create a shell company where people flailed for his amusement and try to handcuff us to ice cubes, so I just left. I still wear the handcuffs as a bracelet. And it helps me seem extra freaky, make these unlicensed party bus passengers feel like they're gonna get a good time. It's sort of like Uber, because the transportation is still key here. But you do the getting transported while standing, and there's a cannon that shoots foam, and flashing lights, loud K-pop, that type of thing. You ever seen that show, Who Did This to Me? Where the host, every week he's got a different problem. And it starts out real cool, real calm. He's like, good evening, everybody. Tonight we'll be interviewing my cousin Jennifer. She's a social engineer, helps create new relationships. She's responsible for polyamory, so if that's your scene, you've got her to thank. We'll also be speaking with my ex-boss from 2 bosses back. He once handcuffed me to an ice cube, and then we'll be sitting down with Steve McMilligan, whose groundbreaking exposés uncovered the truth about the junior mints, and then hopefully through the course of these dialogues we can piece together how I wound up like this. And always around this point in the episode he starts really freaking out. He's like, I think back on it. I used to be a person. When you look in my eyes, do you see a person now? No, you don't. Stop lying to me. You see a bundle of fears and malnutrition. I can't do celery anymore. I balk at your stalks. Hydrangeas are growing and dying off at an alarming rate. They're so big and dead now. And that show has as its central theme the realization that our problems are not that big. It's a narrative that plays out over and over again, episode by episode, transposed into different circumstances to illuminate its core truth from a new angle, and that truth is that whatever has him gnashing his teeth and wailing about the heat death of the universe, by the end of it, he's like, no, everything's good. Well, I want my bad ripoff of Uber to do the same for my passengers. I want them, long day, just got out of the office, jiggling their kneecap back and forth because that's what gets them the big bucks. And they're like, I don't know if I can keep doing this, man. I think I might be at the end of my rope here. And they get in my bus after flagging down a cab. Cab starts pulling over. I drop out of the sky, and with a vacuum-powered trebuchet, I launch the cab through the roof of my bus. The door slides open, red carpet squirts out, and I say, well, all aboard the merriment train. They reach for their phone to call for the special 911? It's 916? It's how you get the emergency services that deal with the crazies. I say, oh, before you hit that 6, let me show you a little something. I blast them in the face with the foam cannon. They run screaming. I use the foam to corral them into an alleyway with an unscalable fence. And then I turn on the voice modulator inside of my steering wheel, bury my head in the glove compartment to better access the microphone, and I say, climb aboard. They climb aboard, have a very nice night. I'm doing good in the world. Various fathers of mine, various police of this cities, they might disagree, but I'm the one who sees the smiles on the newly reconfigured faces, shuffled about by a flesh magnet I bought from a witch camp. I went into the woods one time saying, I'm going to sleep here now. There's no stopping me. Division is a lie. And then the math witch comes out saying, oh, he cracked the code. Somebody get him. Somebody get him. We can't let him get away and tell the people we've been effing with them via 4th grade. Her feet are lassos. She kicks at me and it traps me within rope. I sigh into the sadness. Tears spill forward. Forevermore. 3,000 eternities go by. I lie curled on the floor of outside, and dirt defies the law. It walks into a 7-Eleven, poops on the ground, and then lick slaps the cashier so hard in the jaw, both the teeth and the tongue shatter. And then they dial 916, but when the insanity ambulance comes and they're trying to explain, oh, dirt licked my teeth out, they're the ones who wind up in the psych ward. Once the last of these many eternities draws to its close, the math coven circles around me, waving their arms and chanting, Governor, Governor, lend me a 10 spot. I reach into my pocket. They're like, are you the friggin' governor? I'm like, I don't know anymore. It's been forever, many times over. They say, oh yeah, we forgot we put that extra bit of sage in there. I'm like, Sage did this to me? They're like, Sage did this to you, yes. I say, you know there's dirt living in my tear ducts now. And then the eldest witch, whose nose has opened as might a lotus, she comes over, she's like, oh, let me kiss that away for you. And all 4 of her nasal lips slide shut over my eye corners, and suction of a force I could never have previously imagined turns my entire face inside out, such that only the eyeball remains external, and it just kind of bobs along atop the fleshy pulp that used to be my head. Now when I return to civilization... Oh, this is why they run from me in the bus, because I look like an eyeball bouncing on raw hamburger. Oh, god damn it, somebody should have told me this is why I wish the frightened were more articulate. Can you imagine if instead of a vampire jumps out of the sewer and goes, hurrah, if instead of going, ah, the final girl in your horror movie goes, oh, wish you hadn't done that, you really caught me off guard. Well, then they could open up a dialogue. He's like, man, I just need blood. You don't get it. Yeah, I know I made the creepy noise at you. It's just part of the gig here. I'm just trying to get a meal. And she says, I appreciate your position, but you gotta know, yeah, it's your survival here. It's also my survival. Is there a middle ground? He's like, well, are you afraid of sponges? She says, no. No, I can't imagine how anybody would be. He says, hold that thought, and then rips her arms open and places, of course, a bunch of sponges just under the skin. She, being an articulate frighteneder, goes, oh, further clarification would have been appreciated here. And he says, I'm aware, but you would have said no, and again, this is my survival too. We both get to live now. That's what you wanted, right? That's what you wanted? And she goes, yeah, you got me on a technicality. 3 weeks later, he comes back, gashes her arms open anew, wrings out the sponges into his mouth, puts them back, stitches her back up. And what if instead of people saying, they would say, oh, sir, your head disturbs me. Yeah, it might hurt my feelings a bit, but I'd rather you hurt my feelings than hurt my effing wallet. 'Cause I need to be able to make ends meet too. And when I stroll into the 7-Eleven, as the recently assaulted gentleman with a look of both fear and shame in his eyes picks teeth out of the beef jerky display, I need to know that I can talk him out of grabbing the axe and grabbing the holy water and just sell me an effing cheese. That's all I want. One cheese. My needs have changed ever since the entire sales team at Target decided I'm not worth their time. They go around, you know how these people are. They catch you side-eyeing a copy of Inglourious Bastards and appear out of nowhere, like ninjas or ghosts, going, oh, Tarantino fan, huh? Hey, have you seen Reservoir Dogs? I know it gets overlooked because it's pre-Pulp Fiction. You should check that out. Why don't I ring you up for Reservoir Dogs? You want the Blu-ray?